if she wants to kick me out, it's fine. I'll figure out life by myself. I don't even know what I was thinking, because there's no way I was going to figure out life by myself at 18 with a kid. With what money? With what? Hi guys, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for being here. So, oh my gosh, I've been going through the absolute most this week. Motherhood has got me by my tits. Like, it's been so bad. On Monday, Alwande went back to school, and then the same week, Milani just got flu out of nowhere. So those two situations combined made me feel like exhausted, you know. Like, you guys can just imagine, if you have gone through it, you know what it's like to have a toddler who's got flu. If you haven't gone through it, I hope you don't go through it, because it is so exhausting. Because already toddlers are a lot, and then when they have flu, they're irritable, they don't eat. Milani has been vomiting literally everything. Whatever you give her, it comes out. And she's so irritable, and she doesn't sleep, which means you don't sleep. So I've been exhausted, I've been out of it. So my lovely mother, oh my god, I think she noticed what was going on. My mother doesn't talk much, but she's a woman of actions. So I think she realized and she noticed what was happening. So this weekend, today's Saturday, she woke up this morning and she said that she's going to take the kids to her mother's house, my grandmother, just so I can get a break. And this is my break. I'm alone for the first time in a very, very long time. I'm alone in the house with no kids, no parents, nobody. It's just me. And I'm so glad that I'm alone at a time where we are back to normal, because it's been a while, right? So I figured, since my mom is not here, my kids are not here, like literally I'm home alone, let me shoot something. So I just thought I'd do something light and talk about how I told my family I was pregnant both times. If you've watched my previous videos, you guys will know that I was 18 when I fell pregnant, and I was 2 weeks when I found out that I was pregnant. My baby daddy, same time, told me he wanted nothing to do with me unless if I had an abortion, and I told him I was not going to have an abortion, and he said bye. And it's been, Alon is turning 13 next month, and it's been bye since, you know. So I was alone. I knew that I was going to be alone if I kept the pregnancy, but I was just like, whatever, God has got my back. My ancestors got my back, and they've literally had my back since. So I've never felt any type of way when it comes to that situation. But I was raised in a very, very strict household, and like extremely strict, like unnecessary. So like, I get it now that I'm an adult. I get why my mom would have been that strict, but she was too strict. I mean, growing up, I never really experienced life. I never really experienced what it was like to be a teenager. I didn't party. I didn't drink. I mean, I know those are not the things you're supposed to be doing anyway, but like that, like most teenagers go through that stage, and I would have liked to go through that stage, but I didn't. So when I had an opportunity to leave Durban, I left. Like, I left after matric. I was just like, I'm out. A friend of mine told me about, she was studying at TUT in Pretoria, and she was just like, hey girl, you need to come this side, and she sent me forms and all of that stuff, and I left. So after matric I left. Well, after matric I took a gap year, and during that gap year I went and worked at Wimpy, and I just like tried to find really exactly what it is that I wanted to do with my life. During matric I knew that I wanted to study journalism, because an English teacher, guys, isn't it always the English teachers that are always nice to you? My English teacher told me that I should study journalism. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I applied for journalism at DUT, because I'm a Durban girl, and they accepted me, like, not really accepted me, but you know, like when you go through the first step, the second step and stuff, I got in, and I was supposed to go do my test, you know, which was I think step 2, and unfortunately the 2 days before I was supposed to go write my test, I was diagnosed with meningitis, and I had to be hospitalized. So I missed out on that opportunity, and by the time I came out of hospital, I couldn't. All schools were full, and everything was just done. So basically now I'm sitting here with a gap year, and I was just like, what am I going to do with my life? So I went and I found a job. I worked at Wimpy. And during my time working at Wimpy, a friend of mine was just like, girl, you need to come to Pretoria, this and this and this and this. And I was just like, well, that sounds fun, actually, you know, let me go. So I applied at TUT, the same journalism course, and I was accepted. Went to TUT, I did my first year, which was fun. I had so much fun, you guys. Like, I actually even forgot I was there to study. I had too much fun. Obviously, I felt pregnant. That's how much fun I had. Coming from a strict household, it was my first time where I had freedom to do whatever it is that I wanted to do. I was in a different province, and I didn't have anyone like shutting doors for me. I had a curfew because I lived at Grace, but curfew was midnight. It wasn't the same curfew I had in my home, where my curfew was 3 p.m. at home. I finished my first year, and in the beginning of my second year, that's when I felt pregnant and I found out. So knowing exactly what type of person my mother is, obviously I was scared to tell her, because she's made it very clear over the years that that has been the motto of our family. Like, you fall pregnant, you're out of this house. I knew she was for real, because there was a situation where my mom found out that I had a boyfriend at school, and she kicked me out. She literally kicked me out, and I went to my grandmother's house. I wasn't homeless or anything. I just went to stay with my grandmother for a while. So when she had said things like, if you fall pregnant, I'm kicking you out, I knew she wasn't joking. So I fell pregnant in 2008, and I was just like so scared. I was so scared to come home, so scared to tell my mom. But I found out I was pregnant in January. I conceived, I think, in the first week of January. By the end of January, I already knew that I was pregnant. So March holidays came. I came home as per usual. At that time, I was 3 months. I wasn't showing. Well, I thought I wasn't showing, but later on, my cousins and them told me that they kind of knew I was pregnant, but I was just like, I wasn't showing though. Anyways, March came. I came home for the Easter holidays. And while I was there, I decided, you know what, I'm not brave enough to face my mom. I am a coward. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write her a letter. I wrote her like a 3-page letter. I'm a journalist. All I do is write. I write better than I speak. So even when I'm going through things with my friends or my partner at the time, I'm single right now, but like whenever I have a partner, whatever, or whoever I have an issue with, or whatever I want to express, I always write. I'm not really good at expressing myself verbally. So write, that's my thing. I will write you to death. So I wrote my mom a 3-page letter. In that letter, I explained that I'm pregnant. I explained that I know I disappointed her. I explained that I know that she's probably not happy with me. I also explained that my baby dad is not in the picture, and I don't want her to ask me about him because it's a trigger point for me. I did write his name and surname. So, because, you know, you guys be black, you know, the first thing that parents want to know, even like when I felt pregnant with Milani, the first thing my mom and my grandmother, the first thing my whole family wanted to know was, what's his surname, your baby daddy's surname. So I knew my mom was going to want that with my first pregnancy. So I wrote it down. I told her his name and surname. I told her that he wants nothing to do with me. And I told her that if she wants to kick me out, it's fine. I'll figure out life by myself. I don't even know what I was thinking, because there's no way I was going to figure out life by myself at 18 with a kid. With what money? With what? Now that I think about it. But I was so humble yet cocky in that letter, because I was just like, well, if you're going to kick me out, you can kick me out. I'll figure it out. Thank God I didn't have to figure it out, because men so into that, guys. Like, now that I'm thinking about it now, I'm just like, what was my plan actually? I wrote the letter and then I gave it to my sister. My sister at that time still lived at home. She was in high school, and I gave it to my sister. And the reason why I didn't give it to my mom immediately is because A, I'm a coward. I wasn't brave enough to tell her, and I didn't want her to read the letter in front of me anyway. B, my mom is a healthcare worker, so she gets her salary on the 15th of every month. I knew that my mom was going to cut me off. Well, I thought that my mom was going to cut me off. So I left the letter, and I told my sister to give this letter to my mom after the 15th. So the 16th going forward, give it to my mom. And also at the time, it was my sister's responsibility to deposit money into my account. So I told my sister that, listen, Mama, the minute you send this money, call me so I can confirm. And then she did that. She called me, I confirmed that, okay, I got the money, you can give my mom the letter. And she called me later on the night because she was like, okay, she just came back from work and I gave her the letter. She told me that she read the letter. She was literally giving me blow by blow. We were chatting via Mixit at the time. She was like, she's reading the letter now. And I'm like, what is she saying? She's like, funny enough, she's smiling. I'm like, girl, we're not talking about the same mother. You are not in the same room with the same mother that raised me. She's smiling at a letter when I tell her that I'm pregnant at 18 when I'm supposed to be studying. Girl, bye. My sister was like, what? She's smiling. So I was just like, okay, cool. That's a relief. Immediately, my sister tells me, immediately after my mom reads the letter, my sister sends me a text like, she's done reading the letter and she's calling you. My coward ass couldn't answer that call. She called and I was just like, I'm not gonna answer because I think I'm saying it for the fourth time. I was a coward. You know, I'm not gonna talk to this woman. I'm not gonna explain myself. I'm not doing any of that. So girl, go to voicemail. The phone went to voicemail and she left me a very, very heartwarming message. She said, you know what? I read your letter and I hear what you're saying, but we need to talk, obviously. But let me know if, the first thing she asked was just like, what are you craving? Like, what are your cravings? What do you enjoy eating? What can I do? I listened to that voicemail and I was just like, this is not the same woman that raised me. What? She's asking me, what am I craving? And most importantly, she's asking me, what can she do for me? I was so, the guilt. I just felt like I could have had this conversation with you. If I knew that this was going to be your reaction, I should have just sat down with you and face you, woman to child, you know, because I was a child at that time. It can't even be woman to woman, but woman to child, you know. But I was too much of a coward. But her reaction literally brought me to my knees. And I called her back the following day and she said, okay, cool, do you want to talk about the letter? And I was like, I really don't want to talk about it, but I mean, I am pregnant and I have started seeing, there was a doctor that I started seeing. I started seeing a doctor because the biggest concern was, you are 3 months pregnant, you should have started seeing a doctor by now. She's like, no, I have. And the one thing that she said to me that broke me was like, do you need extra money? You must remember, guys, that this woman had sent me money in the previous 2 days, I think, by the time she read the letter. No, this woman had sent me money the previous day. And then when I speak to her, she asked me if I need more money because she knows that being pregnant means that you eat more and you crave things. And I couldn't even bring myself to say I needed more money, but she sent me more money anyways. I think she sent me like 700 rands extra. And I was just like, okay, cool. Like, like, I don't deserve you. Like, I felt so bad. I felt so guilty. And I just felt like I didn't deserve that much grace. I didn't deserve that much kindness from her because at the end of the day, I was sent to Pretoria. I wasn't sent, but I did go to Pretoria to go study. And in my second year, you know. But that's how she received the news the first time. And I came home for the June holidays. Things were different when I came home. So I came home thinking, oh, my mom is cool. She knows I'm pregnant. We in this together. We were not. I think for her, seeing me, because by the time I came home for June holidays, I was 7 months pregnant, 6 months pregnant, yeah. And it was the first time seeing me with a tummy. And I think that's when reality hit her. I think that's when it hit her, because I thought this girl is really pregnant. And things at that time, she became the mom that raised me, you know, that strictness. She didn't kick me out, but the strictness, I could see it in her eyes, I could see it. She was not pleased with the sight, with me, basically. Basically, pregnant at 18, that is how I told my mom I was pregnant. Another person that I was scared of telling was my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother, and my grandmother has been my biggest supporter in my life, you know, and I've always been like she was the last person I wanted to disappoint, because, you know, like being pregnant at that age, it is seen as a disappointment. She was the last person I wanted to disappoint. But funny funny enough, my mom then called her to tell her that I'm pregnant. And the first question she asked me when my grandmother calls me, and then the first question she asked me is the baby daddy cute? I was like, huh? She's like, no, it's more going on. I was just like, yeah, I guess. Grandmother was like, okay. And then I later found out that the reason why my grandmother was so calm about it was because my grandmother only had grandchildren, and I was the first one in the family to give her a great grandchild. And I guess she felt like maybe she was ready for it. As much as I wasn't ready for a child, she was ready for a great grandchild. My mom, on the other hand, wasn't ready to be a grandmother. She wasn't ready for a grandchild. But my grandmother was very excited, and she felt like she was ready to have her first great grandchild. Grandmother has this thing that she thinks she's gonna die. She's had this thing since I can remember, you know. And when I felt pregnant in 2008, she was just like, yo, finally, I'm gonna have isizulwane before ngishone. It's been 13 years. My grandmother's still alive, but I guess a lot of old people have that thing where they feel like they're gonna die. And right now in 2021, my grandmother probably has like 6 or 7 great grandchildren. So she has lived her dream, and her dream was to see great grandchildren. She was like, oh, it's great to have grandchildren, but I want to see great grandchildren. And she's got it. And so I guess that's why for her, maybe it wasn't such a big thing. But I was quite surprised. I was quite surprised because growing up, they never made it seem as if, oh, we would accept a pregnancy. I guess maybe in their own ways, they didn't want to encourage us to fall pregnant at a young age. Fast forward to 2019, your girl falls pregnant again. But this time, it's different. I'm not scared about writing letters. I'm not scared anybody's gonna kick me out. I'm not scared about anything. You know why? Financial independence. I find out I'm pregnant. There was a lot happening around me. At first, I didn't think I was gonna keep the pregnancy. But I think after like a few days, I was just like, no man, why wouldn't I? I'm 30, I'm financially independent, my first child is already 11. I want actually to have a child. So that decision wasn't hard to make. And also telling the people around me wasn't a hard thing to do, you know. The minute I processed it and I told my baby daddy, and he was happy, guys, he was happy. As much as we're in this situation now, he was happy about the news. So he was happy, I was happy, and I felt like, you know what, the two people that are involved in this are here for the baby. Well, I thought. Now the one person is here for the baby, the other isn't. But at that time, the two people that I made this baby together are agreeing that this is the best thing we can do. Like, we want this child and we're gonna have this child. Who cares about what everyone else thinks? I called my sister. I think a few days after I found out I was pregnant, I called my sister and I was just like, guess what? She said, what? I said, I'm pregnant. And she was so excited. And then once I fully processed everything myself, and I literally just like thought about every scenario in my head. Like, obviously the scenarios are, I have PTSD with every reason because my first baby daddy left me. This one is gonna leave too. And the crazy part is that 4 months into my pregnancy, he did leave. So like all of the things that that went through my mind, everything that I thought could go wrong did go wrong. But I was ready for the child. So I did process everything. After I processed all of those things and I thought about the worst case scenario and the best case scenario obviously was that I'm gonna have a child. And I was gonna be a mom, and I was gonna have a chance to be a mom. Because you guys, if you haven't watched my previous videos, I gave birth to my first child, and a week later I had to go back to school and continue life in Joburg when I left while leaving my child in Durban. So I've never really been a mom. I didn't know what it's like to have sleepless nights. I didn't know what it's like to look at your child and just be in love with a small baby. I didn't know what all of these things were like. So when I thought about the best case scenario, I was just like, this is my opportunity. This is a chance for me to be a mom for real this time. And the best case scenario overweighed everything that I was thinking about. So I was just like, I'm having a baby. Once I thought about all of those things, I processed it. I think by the time I told my mom, I was about 2 months, or maybe 3, I was 2 months. I think I was 2 months pregnant. And I called my mom and I said, girl, how would you feel if you had a second grandchild? Her reaction was not what I expected. She was just like, why are you asking me that? I'm like, because you're going to have a second grandchild. She's like, are you pregnant? I'm like, yeah, I am. She was like, okay. And then she hung up. I was just like, well, damn. Here I am thinking I'm the shit. I don't need to tell nobody. I don't need to be afraid anymore. You know, like, I got this. And the one person that I thought would react the same way didn't. She hung up. And then I called my grandmother and I'm like, listen, I'm pregnant. For some reason, I thought that my mom would be excited. And I didn't think that my grandmother would be excited because at that time she had already had like 1,000 great-grandchildren, so the excitement should have been gone. But my grandmother said to me, I'm so happy you're pregnant again because having one child is not okay. I was like, what do you mean having one child is not okay? Like, I thought I was going to have one child for the rest of my life. So you saying that you would have been disappointed in me? What are you saying? She says to me, no, having one child, whatever, it's fine. That's your choice. But it's good to have more than one child in case the first child does not turn out to be the most great child. And I was just like, girl. She's like, yeah, you need to think about these things. It happens. Like, you're going to have a child and that child may not turn out to be the most amazing person. And at least if you have more than one child, you've got the others to, you know, fall back on. I don't want to say fall back on, but for lack of a better statement, fall back on. Does that mean you guys have been waiting for me to have a second child? Then why didn't you say anything? You know, because not one time did my grandmother ever say to me, girl, when are you having a second child? And then I fast forward back, my mom then calls me like a day later and she says, oh, I'm sorry, when you called me the other day to tell me you were pregnant, I was at work delivering a baby. My mom is a midwife. I literally didn't hear what you said, but I think you said you're pregnant. I'm like, yeah, I'm pregnant. And when I tell you guys that my mom said exact same thing that my grandmother said, she's like, yeah, it's about time you have a second child because having one child is not the best thing. But their reasonings were not the same. My grandmother believes that you need to have more than one child because what if that one child you have turns out to be something that you did not imagine? My mom believed that I need to have a second child because the first child I have is not mine. She was just like, I'm glad that you finally have a child of your own because obviously Alwanda is not your child, she's my child. And I was like, okay, girl. That was seamless, that was smooth. Having to tell my family that I was pregnant was easier than it was the first time. But telling my family the first time I was pregnant, it was really, really difficult. But I do understand that maybe it was the age thing. And I do understand that it was maybe they were just worried for me. And it's just that so you never really understand where all their reactions come from. You know, right now I do get to Guti. They're probably thinking, oh my gosh, you're 18, you're throwing your life away, having a child is a lot. And they were right, you know, they were right. Having a child has held me back a bit. Having a child does hold you back a bit. And I think maybe that's what they were worried about. But it has worked out. I do believe that God does not put you in a situation just for fun, you know. I've got my 2 kids now, and obviously with the second pregnancy, no one really was worried about me. But with my first pregnancy, a lot of people were worried about me, and I get why they were worried. But let me tell you something. They were worried, but their worry actually pushed me. If it wasn't for Alwande, I don't think I'd be where I am today. I was very reckless. You know, my first year in varsity, I was very reckless. I was just drinking and partying, and I failed most of my modules in my first year in varsity. And being pregnant with Alwande pushed me, like I pushed myself. As a result, my second year, I carried over the first year's modules, and luckily I had passed the major. I passed the major module in the first year, so I was able to go through second year. But it means that I had to go, my second year means that I had to do 12 modules for second year, 12 modules for first year. So I was doing 24 modules altogether, and if I wasn't pregnant, I wouldn't have passed them. So Alwande has been the push I needed, and even after school, Alwande has been a push I needed to make sure that I work hard. Like, I don't think I would have worked this hard if I didn't have Alwande. She has pushed me for the better. She has made me such a better person. Yes, I had her at a young age. Yes, I had her when I was not ready. Yes, a lot of people were disappointed, including myself, but I needed to go through that. I needed Alwande in my life. God knew I needed her. I didn't know that I needed her, but God knew I needed Alwande in my life, and because of Alwande, I am where I am today. I don't think I give her enough credit. I don't even think she knows this. I don't even actually think I've had that conversation with her, that she does not understand how much she has motivated me to work hard. And now that I have Milani, obviously the motivation has like tripled, because now I've got 2 kids. But in the beginning, it wasn't even about having a kid. It was just I've got this person who has pushed me to do better. Why stop now? What I'm trying to get to is that if you're watching this and you are young and pregnant, maybe even if you are not young, you're at an appropriate age, but maybe you feel like you're not ready, but like you're already pregnant and you have passed the mark of having an abortion. I'm here to tell you that everything does happen for a reason, you know. You will be fine, and you will use that child. I hate to say use that child, but you will use that child and use that situation to push yourself. It has taken me 12 years to see things how I see them now. Alwande has been the biggest blessing in my life. It has taken me a long time to realize that. For the longest time, I thought like, oh, having a child, I'm so young. But in hindsight, when I look at it now, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the child I had when I was 18. You know, she has pushed me, she has motivated me, and watching her grow right now motivates me even more. I don't know if you are in my situation or you've been in my situation, but I know there's a lot of us who've had kids at a young age. There's a lot of us who have kids when we're not really ready to. How did you tell your parents? How did you tell your family? How are you doing now? You know, has it been a couple of years, a couple of months? How long has it been, and how are you doing now? Thank you guys for watching. I really, really appreciate your support, and I will see you next time.